to the channel. My name is Carissa. I'm a GA here at Pitt State, and today we have Dr. Hutchens. We're going to be interviewing him and getting to know him a little bit better. So,
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. You can tell me a little bit about yourself, where are you from?
Yeah, Texas, born and raised. Did my undergrad, I should slow down a little bit. Grew up in West Texas, family has property out there, grew up on a ranch. Moved to Houston when, right about the time I went to high school. Did my undergrad at Stephen F. Austin in East Texas. Heavily involved with club sports and things like that there, which led me to University of Arkansas, where I got both my master's and my PhD in rec and sport management. Finished my PhD last May.
Awesome. So how'd you get into the club sports world?
So club sports was kind of my way of competing in sport at the collegiate level. I was a member of the Stephen F. Austin Bass Club. I was the president of that club for a couple of years. It was one of the reasons that I went to SFA. So at that time, SFA had won a couple national championships in collegiate fishing. Collegiate fishing was kind of it was a new thing 7, 8, 9 years ago, but really started to flourish when I was in undergrad. And I wanted to be part of that. I wanted to be a part of an established program that had really, really good leaders and anglers ahead of me that I could learn from. And that's exactly what I stepped into at SFA. Like I said, I was president for 2 years. I was secretary for a year, I think, and heavily involved in club sports otherwise. I was in the tennis club and other things like that. But really, the value of club sports and getting to compete at the collegiate level was something really, really special to me that I didn't take for granted. I ended up working for campus rec and club sports towards the end of my tenure there at Stephen F. Austin. My undergrad degree is animal science pre-vet. So anyone out there who maybe you're not so sure your major is the career path you're going to end up on, it's a relatable story.
I can speak for that too.
I worked in a vet clinic for a while, and it was the same thing every day, and I got bored. So wanted to do something different, wanted to have a different lifestyle that would still allow me to pursue my passions, and club sports kind of started to open that door. And then once I got to Arkansas and was there for a couple of years, started writing papers for one of the professors there. I was lucky enough to get offered a PhD spot, and Arkansas has pretty good fellowships and things like that, so I took advantage of that opportunity. And now I'm at Pitt State, and I love it. As the job search process was wild, but yeah, club sports and collegiate fishing paid for a master's and a PhD. So
Can't complain about that.
Yeah, those of you out there that are wondering how you're going to afford grad school, there are ways to do it.
So it kind of sounds like what I'm taking away. You got into club sports and then the rec side of things, and that kind of led you into where you are now.
Yeah, and I will say that I had some really, really influential professors in undergrad that made me fall in love with learning itself, which, I mean, going into undergrad, I didn't know where I was going, what I was doing, but I just had some really, really awesome professors in undergrad that really changed the way that I thought about higher education and learning and everything else. So that too kind of initiated the shift into getting a master's and then eventually getting a PhD.
Yeah. So when you went to go get your PhD, did you imagine teaching?
Whenever I started my PhD, it was just kind of a bucket list thing. Like I said, Arkansas had some really, really incredible fellowship opportunities that, if I didn't take advantage of them then, I was never going to get an opportunity that good again. So took advantage of the opportunity that was put in front of me. But it was just kind of a bucket list thing. And the more I got into teaching, I'm still figuring out how to teach. That's a fun fact during your PhD and as you're experiencing now with your master's. They don't prepare you to teach. You just kind of get thrown into it. So still learning all of that. But it was never I never thought at the end of my 3-year PhD program that I would go and work at a university. Obviously, there's a lot of different ways you can go with a PhD in rec and sport, but it was never the end goal specifically to more directly answer your question.
Okay.
But
Awesome. All right. So you talked a little bit about that, and then I also wanted to ask you. You brought up Bass Club.
yeah.
And we are getting started with that at Pitt State here
Yep.
as well. So can you tell me a little more about that?
Yeah, I talking to my students as much as I do, I try to see what they're interested in, and I was wondering when it was going to happen. I thought it would happen last semester when I first got here. Vinny, the director of campus rec here, was asking me if I knew any students that wanted to start a fishing club or anything like that. So I didn't at the time, but now we've got a couple of students that are starting up the Pitt State Fishing Club. They've got an Instagram, so check it out on Instagram if you're curious. But yeah, they're starting it up. I mean, I've obviously got my experience with it, so I can walk them through. But really, the cool thing to me is to get to watch them go through the things that I went through when I was a club officer, and to go through the growing pains and things like that they are for sure going to go through. And I'm gonna let them, because they're gonna learn from it, and that was everything when I was an undergrad, was that whole learning experience. But I'm really excited for them. Fisher and Allie, they've got their heads on straight, so I'm excited to watch what they do.
Awesome. Well, it's great that you're able to bring a passion of yours here and connect with students and create something bigger at Pitt State.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what it does. Like I said, it's just a way to give back to the sport that's obviously given me so much. So it's been really cool.
Awesome. All right. So changing gears a little bit here.
Yeah.
What classes do you teach now?
Oh, well, we're going through a bit of a revamp of some of our curriculum, so it might change a little bit. I'm kind of more on the sport side of things within our rec and sport emphasis area. I also teach several of the hospitality management online courses for both our minor and our certificate. So if you are in a hospitality class or curious about our hospitality management classes, I will probably be the one to talk to about that, at least for the time being. Some of the other classes I teach, I get to teach a promotions, kind of a sports marketing, sports rec, hospitality management marketing class this summer and this fall. I teach a Rec 280, which is a methods and leadership class. That is one of my favorite classes to teach. I studied leadership throughout my dissertation and grad school and all that stuff, so that's something I'm really passionate about, really curious about. I teach the practicum, Rec 275, in the fall. I teach our pre-internship seminar, Rec 462, in the fall, and like I said, several of the hospitality management classes.
Awesome. So even as myself as a student who hasn't studied hospitality management at all, can you explain that a little bit?
We have a lot of students that want to go into either theme park management or hotel management, conference center management, resort management, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So we try to gear a lot of those classes to the specific interest of students. Now, what ends up happening is we get a lot of our rec and sports students in those classes as well. So maybe the connection, maybe the emphasis on specifics within the hospitality management minor and certificate aren't as realized as possible, but all of those event planning skills, event design skills, it's all transferable.
Yeah.
A lot of our rec students realize after graduation that, 85 to 90% of their job is event planning and management. So and I'll say that for our rec services, sport and hospitality management program in general, all the skills that we teach are very transferable across all three disciplines. It's just, and we put a lot of ownership on the students to make sure they get what they need out of our classes as well.
Awesome.
So
It's cool that you guys can tie all that together and make it useful for when they really get into the real world, because it's not just like, oh, take these rec classes, you'll use them someday, but you're applying more of the soft skills as well too.
yeah, absolutely, and that's why I spend a lot of time on that leadership and management component in my classes, because I feel like, and I think we've seen over the last few years, is there's a significant need for that in society at large. So being able to conceptualize what leadership is, being able to conceptualize and explain different management styles and different situations in which different management styles and leadership styles are necessary, I think will serve our students in the long run. At least that's what I hope.
Awesome. So what is like one thing or your top thing that you hope students take from your classes?
I hope they have some appreciation and some sort of appreciation for quality leadership, quality management, and being able to apply the things that we talk about in class, right? I'm trying to provide them with an education based in practical day-to-day responsibilities, based in reality, right? So I'm not trying to overburden them with busy work or anything like that. I want them to really have a chance to practice their skills, to understand what they're seeing in the sport, rec, hospitality world. That's easier said than done a lot of times, but if I was to say one thing, I hope they take practical skills from my classes and understand those concepts in practice.
Yeah, and that is one thing I really do like about Pitt State. As a student, everything here that I've been taught is very applicable and very specific to what I want to go into, so that's really nice.
Good, that's awesome. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
It's good feedback.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So what is your favorite lecture topic or project?
Oh man. Well, let's see. So favorite project that I assign to my students, I do this in several classes. I'll assign a current event topic and they get to pick a current event, whatever their particular area of interest is, right? So again, with covering rec, sport, hospitality management, that's a wide range of things to cover in a semester within, for instance, methods and leadership, right?
Yeah.
So one of the ways I offer students that flexibility to make coursework applicable to their context is through a current event assignment where they'll go out and they'll pick a current event happening within the last couple weeks, couple months, whatever, within their particular area of interest, and apply the terms that we use in the course to that specific event and break that event down in terms of whatever we're talking about in class either that week or that month. So again, making that connection between what's going on in practice, what's going on in the world, and what's going on in the classroom, and hopefully by pairing those two, they start to see these kinds of things as they really exist.
Awesome. And then in that sort of sense, getting that hands-on experience, they can see how to apply it in the real world too.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So moving a little bit away from school, tell me a little bit more about yourself. What are your interests and hobbies and passions?
Well, I still fish. I still fish tournaments. Pittsburgh's in a pretty good area. We have a lot of really good lakes within 2 hours drive of here. So that was certainly one of my considerations when I was looking at Pitt and applying for this job. So I still fish a lot. We have that property back in Texas still. So every fall I'll be back and forth for deer season and getting the property prepped and all that this summer. So that'll be fun. I do that. I'm in the gym all the time. Let's see what else. I obviously read and consume as much information as possible for the sake of my classes. But yeah, those are kind of my three main things. I played tennis growing up, so play tennis when I can. Have a dog. He's 9 years old. His name is Nash. He's a lab mix.
Awesome. Yeah.
He's a sweetheart. I want to bring him into work. He just lay under my desk all day. But what else do you want to know?
So, considering your experience here at Pitt State so far, why should other prospective students choose Pitt State?
For me, and I'll go back to my research and passion about leadership and everything else, but for me it's about culture, right? Mm-hmm. One of the biggest thing that I noticed whenever I was visiting Pitt on my interview last summer, you drive up and down Broadway, and really as soon as you cross the state line coming from Joplin, there's gorillas everywhere.
Yeah,
it's
true. I noticed that when I visited too.
There's Pitt placards on every car. There's stickers on every car. Right. You go up and down Broadway, and there's gorillas everywhere, right? Yeah. And that to me, I mean, coming from Stephen F. Austin from undergrad, it was very much a similar feeling. Mm-hmm. and that was like, okay, green light, right? That was huge to me. SFA has a great culture. Pitt State's culture is probably even stronger than SFA's culture, just the way that Pittsburgh loves the university, and the university returns the favor to the town. So yeah, it's culture. Yeah, it's a town of 20,000. We got a campus size of a little over 6, but the community that you have an opportunity to be a part of here is unlike anything else. I mean, your experience as a graduate student, our offices are always open. You know you can talk to any one of us whenever you need something.
Everyone is very personable. You can walk into the office, your teachers will learn your names, and it's not like too small. Like, you can still get out and meet new people and experience new things. They have a lot of awesome things out in the community. But the thing about it is kind of like you said, it's not just the community and then the college. It's all together.
Yeah.
The community supports the college does things for the community.
Yeah,
so.
And that's huge. I can compare and contrast this to Arkansas or whatever else, and it's just it's a whole different thing, because everyone is invested in the same thing at the same time, and as a result you get access to things like you get to work with athletics, you get to work with all these different groups in the community, and that makes what we're doing in the classroom a whole lot easier, because now, hey, if I need to if I've got some hospitality students that need some event planning experience, hey, let's go work with athletics or whatever else, right? So developing those relationships and having the ability to develop those relationships improves our quality of instruction and improves the quality of the education that our students are going to get. So it's all so closely related, but if I had to say one thing and narrow it down, it's culture, and it's town and university all the way down to, as we alluded to, the offices here in HHPR.
I agree 100%. Yeah. Well, is there anything else you can think of?
I think that's it. I don't think anybody else needs to know too much more. But if y'all have any other questions or anything like that for me, my email is nhutchens@pittstate.edu. If you want to reach me by phone, call in here to the HHPR offices. You can find that information on our website, Pitt State, www.pittstate.edu/HHPR.
Yep, I think that's right.
So check that out. Also, be sure to follow us on our social medias. Instagram, Carissa runs our Facebook. I run the Instagram, so if you got any questions, anything promoted there. We also try to post things on our Facebook and our Instagram that are useful to students. So if you're curious about SRC hours or anything like that, we've got that stuff on there. Our YouTube page, obviously you're watching this on our YouTube page, where we also post our podcast. Again, trying to make those connections between those groups in the community that are doing work and our lessons in the classroom. So hope y'all check that out. Any other questions for me? We good?
I think we're good.
Awesome.
Thank you for your time today, and thanks for watching it.
Of course.
Like and subscribe.
That's right. Go Gorillas. Thanks.
Thank you.